Well, I think tonight was a game that a lot of fans were looking forward to because it was a marquee opponent and a marquee rival in the Philadelphia 76ers, a team that the Celtics have pretty much owned the past couple of years. But this is a different Sixers team, not necessarily in roster being all that different because the key components are still there in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. But in terms of attitude and sort of direction they're headed, uh, so relying on past information of the Celtics being able to sweep the Sixers out of the postseason last year and 2 years ago, sort of an underhanded Celtics team giving a gentleman's sweep to the Sixers. That's just not the type of team Philly is this year, and that's not the type of team the Celtics are. So while it looked on paper like it'd be a really good rivalry game and a good matchup, I think that if you've paid any attention to the Celtics at all this year, you sort of have the sense that this wasn't going to go well, and lo and behold, it didn't. The Celtics played a solid first quarter and sort of hung around, and it seemed like they were lucky to be in the game and be competitive. They were even leading for a little bit, not by much, but they did have a lead. And you're getting the sense that, well, wow, the Sixers are hitting their shots, and Embiid's able to do whatever he wants. If not for just a couple of turnovers and the Celtics knocking down some of their threes, this game would not be that close. And then naturally, water found its level, and the Celtics started playing a little bit worse. The Sixers started playing a little bit better, tidying things up, and the Sixers blew the Celtics' doors off for the rest of the game. You get the sense that the Celtics, to beat a good team like the Sixers, need to play absolutely perfect basketball, shoot their threes at an incredibly high percentage for a whole game, take good care of the ball, force Philadelphia into taking bad shots, hoping that they don't shoot well. Basically, like I said, playing the perfect game. And that's just too much to ask of a team that is so flawed like the Celtics are. And certainly, if you're talking about a postseason situation where you could potentially meet the Sixers team, which could happen in the first round, you can't expect to win a series where you have to play perfect in 4 games. It's just not going to happen. So this didn't surprise me at all tonight. I said before the game, I thought Robert Williams was going to struggle because Embiid's not a good matchup for Robert Williams. Robert Williams relies on his, athleticism because he is undersized as a center, his speed, and Embiid is just bigger and stronger than Rob, and he's incredibly fast and athletic for his size. So it's just not a good matchup for what Rob Williams does. And I don't think it's fair if anybody wants to bash Rob, who fouled out of this game tonight, and he didn't play a good game, but to say that that's indicative of what his ceiling is or what his future is. Listen, Embiid's been giving it to everybody this year. You go and look at the two-time Defensive Player of the Year and the guy who's likely to win it again this year, Rudy Gobert. A lot of people consider him to be the best defensive player in the NBA, and Embiid ate his lunch earlier this year, dropped a 40 piece on him. So to expect Rob Williams to step up to the plate and play a great game against Joel Embiid as his first time as a starter and sort of be able to prove a point tonight, that was never going to realistically happen. So I don't think you can read too much into Rob Williams' poor performance tonight and make any determinations about where his ceiling lies. I saw that coming a mile away, and really I sound like I'm patting myself on the back here, but I'm being honest because I've watched every game and I know what this team's like. This is not a was not a game the Celtics really had a chance of winning. They don't match up well against Philadelphia. Philadelphia is playing with purpose this year. They're moving the ball well. They do pretty much everything well, and the Celtics don't play for 48 minutes. So when those two types of teams match up, especially a Philly team that's looking for revenge and to prove themselves against the team that's beaten them in the playoffs 2 times out of the past 3 years, they're a motivated Philly team. The Celtics have had little to no motivation all year long. So it seemed like, before tip-off, it was a fait accompli that the Celtics were going to lose this game and probably by a wide margin. And I actually think the final score, which was 96-106, was not really how close. The game wasn't even that close. Philadelphia, after they made that initial run when the Celtics were up by 3 and then Philadelphia won like an 18-2 run, it was over. The Celtics had no fight in them, as they've shown for a lot of games this season, and Philly just outclassed them by being a better, smarter team. They're more well put together. The roster is far more cohesive. They have the better star player by a mile in Joel Embiid. We have the better coach in Doc Rivers. Uh, and so really, it should come as a surprise to anybody that even though this was a game on TNT and a marquee matchup and a rivalry that people maybe were looking forward to, that this was the end result. So let's go into the box score before we talk a little bit more about what the differences are really between these two teams in terms of where they stand right now. Celtics starters tonight were Tatum, Rob Williams, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. No Evan Fournier or Tristan Thompson tonight. Tristan Thompson is still getting back into shape after having COVID. Evan Fournier is in health and safety protocols for the second time in his 1 week with the Celtics. How that happens, I don't know. Either Evan Fournier did something stupid, or the Celtics didn't give him good information about how to stay away from COVID, but somebody screwed up there. Tatum played 35 minutes. He was not great shooting tonight, and we'll get into Tatum after I go through the box score, just because I have complaints about him. 7 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 10 from three. Just 3 free throw attempts. He made all 3 of them. 4 rebounds, 4 assists, steal, and 20 points on the night. Robert Williams, as I mentioned, fouled out in just 14 minutes. Only 4 points for him, 3 turnovers, a block, an assist, and 9 rebounds. 9 rebounds in 14 minutes is pretty good, though. I'll give him credit for that. Kemba Walker, 36 minutes, 6 of 14 from the floor, not bad. 2 of 5 from 3, also not too bad. 3 rebounds, 6 assists, 14 points. Didn't score that much, but he wasn't the problem tonight at all. That wasn't the reason the Celtics lost. So I'd say solid performance from Kemba. Marcus Smart, 36 minutes, 4 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 3 from 3, 5 of 7 from the free throw line, a rebound, 3 assists, a steal, a block. And here's the number that's really bad, though: 6 turnovers for Marcus Smart. Just brutal. The Celtics turned the ball over as a team 20 times tonight. Tough to win a game against a bad team when you turn the ball over 20 times, let alone against a good Philadelphia team. So they did not do themselves any favors there, but 6 turnovers from Smart is just brutal. Jaylen Brown, he finished the night with 33 minutes, 6 of 10 from the floor, 3 of 7 from 3, 2 free throw attempts for him. He made them both, 3 rebounds and a block, 3 turnovers, and 17 points total for Jaylen. The bench didn't do too much to contribute tonight. Everybody played. Romeo Langford continued to build his minutes back up as he gets 14 minutes. He goes 1 of 3 from the floor. Plays good defense, though, which continues to be encouraging. He only has 2 points, but I've liked what I've seen in the 2 defensively from him. You kind of are hoping to get some offensive out of him, because he was a good offensive player in college and in high school, and he hasn't really shown that ability to score at this level yet, but he's obviously missed so much time that you can't really tell. But he does seem to have the ability to be a lockdown defender in his future, hopefully. So we'll see what happens as he progresses, if he can stay healthy. Other guys who played solid minutes off the bench were Luke Cornett, 15 minutes for him. I thought he held his own against Embiid as well as he could. He did have 3 blocks, 6 points. Both of those were 3-pointers, 2 of 3 from 3, 3 rebounds. I think the Celtics have gotten more than they expected out of Cornett, honestly. He was just like a throw-in, and he's been fine for the Celtics. He's been a reasonable bench player. Grant Williams plays 16 minutes. He has 3 points and 2 rebounds. Doesn't really give you much. Semi Ojeleye returns 12 minutes, 2 points for him, a rebound and an assist. Peyton Pritchard, 9 minutes, 6 points, 2 of 3 from 3. So not a lot of help from the bench. Starters didn't play particularly well, and you gave up 35 and 6 to Embiid. Embiid did whatever he wanted. He shot 23 free throws. He was 16 of 20 from the free throw line, and you were just outclassed. Really, you were outclassed by what's a very good 76ers team. And I said this in a tweet: Celtics have been better than the Sixers the past couple of years. What's the difference this year? Well, the Sixers got rid of their head coach, who the team wasn't listening to, Brett Brown, and they hired Doc Rivers, and they told Elton Brand to step back. He still works for the team, but the guy making basketball decisions now is Daryl Morey, who they hired in the offseason. And look at what a difference that makes. Daryl Morey makes a couple of tweaks to the roster, brings in Danny Green and Seth Curry, sends out Josh Richardson, and now the Sixers are a better constructed team because they have more shooting on the outside. They have a coach who has championship experience, played in the league, that the players respect and know. And the Sixers are one of the favorites in the Eastern Conference. So none of the roster moves they made were particularly big. And the replacing of the GM to somebody who had a vision for the team, and the coach who's somebody who the players respected and listens to, made all the difference. So all the people are saying, put this on the players of the Celtics. It's not Brad Stevens or Danny Ainge. It's everybody. I absolutely agree. It is the players too, but it's a lot easier to make those other things than to remake the entire roster. So I say look at the Sixers model, and that they got rid of their coach and their GM in the offseason, and look how much better they are this year. I don't see why Wick Grossbeck, the owner of the Celtics, wouldn't look exactly at that team he saw on the floor tonight, beat the hell out of his team, and say, how did they get to this point where we beat them 2 of the past 3 years in the playoffs, and now they're better than us? I'm telling you how they're better, because they replaced the coach and the GM. And so I really hope the Celtics take heed and do the same thing. And that's a big difference I see between the two teams. And also, you have to really start to complain about Jason Tatum, who got paid a max contract extension in the offseason and is making tons of money. He's doing Subway commercials. He's on Ruffles bags, and he's just not showing up nearly enough like you need a star player to show up. His body language is bad. He's not engaged. When things aren't going easy for him, he doesn't seem to want to force the issue and and go to the basket and get to the free throw line. Like he's not aggressive enough. He's such a docile player and a docile guy, and that can work as a number 2 or a number 3 option on a good team, but it can't work to be the number 1 guy, and that's what they're expecting him to be, and that's what they're paying him to be. So maybe it's a matter of getting a new coach in to listen to him, or surrounding the team with more talent. I also think with Tatum and Brown, they haven't shown the ability to me to be playmakers. They're both great individual talents, and they can both score and they can both play some defense, but they haven't really improved the play of anybody else on their team. And neither one of them is a tremendous passer. There's big holes in their games. If you want to be a superstar in the league, not just a star or an all-star, you need to make players around you better. And you need to be able to become a playmaker at whatever position you are. And so far, Tatum and Brown are sort of one-dimensional, just scorers. And there's a lot of dribbling and half-court sets where they don't even look to pass the ball. And the team's suffering because of it. So there's a lot of things the Celtics need to take a look at in terms of who's making decisions, who's coaching, how the team is built, who the guys are they want to lean on. And they need to address it all in the offseason, because this is a perfect example tonight of where two different teams are at. The Sixers are on the rise and it built the correct way and heading in the right direction. The Celtics are now on the decline and built the wrong way and heading in the wrong direction. And it's up to Celtics ownership to step in and say, this is not acceptable. This is not okay. Because I know no Celtics fans wants to see your doors blown off by Philadelphia and to have them surpass you, because you've already seen the Nets and the Lakers surpass you, and that's bad enough. And now Philly has as well. It's not good to have all your rivals and all these teams that you dislike lap you. So we'll see what happens. The Celtics have a big test tomorrow with a team that's more their speed in the New York Knicks. That sucks to say, but it's the truth. No Kemba Walker in that game. So we'll see what the Celtics do. I honestly, in that game, because the Knicks again and the Celtics are closer in terms of talent level, or in terms of the way they're playing, I should say, right now, than the Celtics and the Knicks, the Celtics certainly could win that game. But this is the game that you should actually read something out of, because this is an actual good opponent who just outclassed the Celtics, and that's what they really are. Is a mediocre to bad team in the Eastern Conference right now, and they proved that tonight. So thanks to Weston, Iro, and Leonard Kim in the chat. I see you guys in there. I'll read a couple of your comments. Leonard, you said you weren't expecting a win. This game was actually more winnable than you thought the second quarter was the Celtics' doom. Yeah, it was. And then, they don't have the ability to come back in a game like this against a good team, because they lack for confidence and they lack for that sort of killer instinct. And Leonard, you went on to say maybe it's because of the construction of the current roster, but you don't like Kemba and Smart starting together. I'd like to see what Smart could do running the second unit, maybe, and put Fournier in the starting lineup instead of Smart. Maybe that would be something. Again, nothing on the roster as currently constituted is going to get him to where people actually want him to be, which is competing for a championship. This roster isn't constructed in a way to allude to that. And Weston, you're saying maybe they looked at the Celtics and refused to be like them this season, it seems. Yeah, I think the Sixers were heavily motivated by continuing to lose to the Celtics in the postseason and the regular season. I mean, they are rivals, and the Sixers fans don't like losing to Boston. So I think their ownership group made a smart decision, getting rid of Brett Brown, telling Elton Brand to take a step back, and hiring Daryl Morey. I think they knocked it out of the park this offseason. So I think that's exactly what happened. And you need the Celtics front office and ownership to take a similar approach. So I'll be back tomorrow night, and the Celtics, as they take on the Knicks, as I mentioned, that game could end up being important in terms of playoff seeding. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. Celtics will lose in the first round regardless. But I'm still gonna watch. I'm not gonna quit now. Why would I do that? I enjoy the being miserable too much. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Remember to give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, comment back, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. See ya.